We want to begin tonight by talking about a few different police matters here in the city of Buffalo, and one of them is something pointed out to us on social media alleging to show an officer on a rooftop on Delaware for Sunday afternoon's parade who dropped that weapon onto the street below. It was captured in a few photos sent to us by a viewer today. And I'm joined live in studio by Buffalo Police Commissioner Joseph Gramaglia. And before we get to the car accidents, because we want to know about that, and that is a concern for people, I have to ask you about Sunday's parade and the fact that there was an officer on a roof, a rifle dropped down to the crowd. What happened? Is there an investigation?
Yeah, there is an investigation underway. So, Sunday was the parade. For all of our mass gathering events, we have SWAT presence, and that comes in a multifaceted. We have actually transitioned over the last maybe year and a half or so, where our SWAT officers, where they used to be kind of out of sight, out of mind, and watching in the shadows, to actually being out, being present, being visible, provide more of a comfort for folks to see that they're out there. Part of that is overwatch observation. You have to look over the crowd. You have to be able to see higher elevation points. We've seen where that has come into play in active shooter situations. You look last year at the 4th of July parade and some other, some other issues around the country. So, in this particular incident, following our protocol, we have officers, we have SWAT members that are on an elevated position. In this particular instance, they had their rifle on a tripod. You can see in the photograph that there is a weighted bag that holds it down. Mm-hmm. And at some point, we're investigating that a strong gust of wind is what caused that to topple, we believe flip over a couple of times and then went right over the edge. This is something that doesn't happen, can't happen, doesn't, nor I've never heard of this happening. So part of the internal investigation, in fairness to the officers, we have to get their statements first, what occurred here. And then we also are going to look at our protocols and see what needs to change. Obviously, something needs to change.
So based on what you're saying, it looks like the wind had a role in this. It wasn't an officer being neglectful.
From what I'm getting at this point, it's not that it was physically being handled. It wasn't dropped. Okay. Again, I have to wait for the internal investigation to play out, but the early reports that I'm being advised on is that, it was, secured on the tripod, with a weighted bag, which is their protocol. Mm-hmm. But we had some strong wind gusts, and like I said, again, we're going to have to look into those protocols going forward in those positions.
We appreciate you for even addressing that matter right now. I do want to just ask you as a follow-up. You mentioned protocol. Are we seeing that more heightened here because of what we saw May 14th?
I would say that we're seeing that here because events all around the country. When you have threats to mass gatherings, anytime you have a mass gathering, that's what's considered a soft target, where you have, large amounts of people, medium-sized amount of people coming together. We have a duty and obligation to protect them. And, it's not the days of old when I was on patrol and we had officers out. You've got to have, highly trained tactical officers now in these situations. Speaking
about being out on patrol, yesterday we saw another car accident where teens are in the vehicle, 5:30 in the morning, one dead that we know of so far. And then we're seeing a lot of stolen vehicles. First of all, was that car stolen?
The information I have right now is that vehicle was not stolen. Our accident investigators are still working on the cause, what happened. There's a lot of work that goes into a serious physical injury or fatal accident in this case. We have one fatality. We have 3 that the last I checked were in intensive care, and we have 1 that had serious injuries.
But we know it is becoming a problem. We're seeing a lot of young people in vehicles piled up. We saw before they were on the 33. That was a fatal accident. And that was a stolen vehicle, the Hyundais, the Kias. What is going on? What are police doing? Is there anything you all can do to step up patrol or warn owners? What are you doing?
This is a tremendous problem. We're not even 3 months into the year. We have already had more Kias stolen in less than 3 months, the first 3 months of the year, than we had all of last year. And about 5 times as many as 2 years ago. We have already had more Hyundais in the not even quite 3 months into the year yet than we had all of last year. And we know what the problem with that is. It's the lack of an engine immobilizer. It's very difficult for us to stay on top of this because you're getting situations where you could have 5 to 10 of these vehicles stolen in a single night. They go from one car to the next car. And it's not just kids stealing cars and joyriding. We have, some bands of kids that, and I say kids because they are kids, that they're using these vehicles in furtherance of violent crime. They're posing on social media with pictures of guns.
Right.
They're committing shootings, shots fired, robberies. So it's a tremendous problem. You know, and then the prosecution side, when we do make an arrest, we need the owners of these vehicles to file charges. We need them to sign statements that they will pursue charges. We have a problem with that. That doesn't always happen. So I encourage anyone that has their car stolen when we make an arrest, please sign charges and follow through. But you know, that goes to the other situation. In the last 3 years, I have 19 different juveniles with between 2 and 6 arrests for stolen cars. 19 different juveniles, one with as many as 6 arrests in the last 3 years. You know, they go into the juvenile system, and you know, the unfortunate thing is we never find out what happens in the juvenile system. I am all for trying to get these kids on the right path, but at some point there has to be consequences to your actions. And you know, maybe your 3rd arrest, maybe it's time to have some, you know, sharper action taken.
10 seconds, if you can just look in that camera right there and tell the young people who are stealing cars how serious you are about it.
Well, I hope you're watching this and you need to get on the right path. You know, we're looking for you to, you know, find a role model, find somebody, talk to a community police officer, talk to a teacher, go to school. But you're looking at life and death in these situations. You don't know how to drive, and you are crashing cars. We've seen this all too often.
Commissioner Joe Gramaglia from the Buffalo Police Department, thank you for joining us this evening. I know originally we were just here to talk about stolen cars, but the other situation came up. We appreciate you addressing it candidly.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.